Leeds United made the most of their second chance in the European Cup against Stuttgart, the team they say has more foreign reserves than the Bank of England. Leeds won 2-1 in Barcelona in front of a tiny crowd. Their hero was Shutt. He scored the winner less than a minute after coming on as a substitute, and tomorrow's his birthday.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to episode 186 of the Talking Shutt podcast. On a slightly different day, here with you tonight on a Thursday as opposed to a Wednesday, because some selfish get decided to go to a gig last night, and then the other selfish gets decided to disappear on holiday. Yes, I was one of the selfish gets, so I do apologise that we're here on a Thursday. And we're here to soothe your international blues, which is obviously a real thing when international breaks on, that everybody suddenly becomes sad, because we've only got England to look forward to. And to be honest, it's not much to look forward to at the moment, is it? If you're watching live on YouTube or Facebook, please like and share and subscribe to the various channels. And also, if you are on Facebook, go over and join the All Leeds Aren't We Facebook page over there, one of the biggest Facebook pages available on the old Facebook. I'm joined tonight by two standing co-presenters, as we are missing Raggy, who is away with his good lady, and we're missing Ben, who is on the verge of going away with his good lady also. So tonight we're joined by two very special co-hosts. One who's undercover at the wrong side of the Pennines, Dan. Good evening, Dan. How are you?
Evening, I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Good, thanks. We'll get into in a little bit how you become a Leeds fan living in Manchester. And we're also joined by a long-time listener of the show, Harry Chapman. Hello, Harry. How are you?
Hello, Gary. I'm fine, thank you. Are you?
Yeah, good, mate. I'm very good, thanks. And obviously, a bit of an emotional reunion for me and young Ben. So the other week, when Mike said that he needed to take some time away due to work, I was driving back from Ben's house thinking, who can we call upon to get the squad back together? Do you know what? I'm going to ring young Ben. So I gave him a ring, to which I got, just playing five-a-side, I'll ring you back. And we had what was a very short negotiation, Ben, weren't it? I offered you absolutely zero money, but an opportunity to get the squad back together, and here you are.
Yeah, it was an offer I couldn't refuse, Gary.
Exactly. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
It's nice to see you back, mate, again. And are you still young, Ben, or do we call you like middle Ben now? You're not as young anymore now.
I'm still young. I'm still young. I feel like because I'm back, Ben's now old Ben, and I have to be young Ben again.
Yeah, it's true, mate. I mean, Ben was disappointed the fact that he would become old Ben again and couldn't just be Ben anymore. But small sacrifices, mate, innit, to get the squad back together. Anyway, let's get into the show then. Obviously, it is the international break. How do you guys fare with the international break? I find myself become a little bit of like a content whore, where I just chase around trying to keep in touch with which various players are away on international duty, who's doing interviews with their native press and all this type of stuff. And I spend myself a lot of the time refreshing the LUTV feed to see if they put any other videos of like Ian Pervader doing curls or something in gym, just to keep me engaged. Mate, have you seen him? Yeah, it's like a budget Ahmadai Traore. He's massive.
He is massive.
Absolutely jacked. Yeah. So how was international break for you, Harry? How do you pass the time between Leeds United not being here?
I hate the international break. I always have done. The only time I watch England's like European or World Cups. I just can't be dealing with boring football. If Phillips is playing or Bamford, I'll watch it. But none of the other money grabbing lot.
What about you, Dan? What about you over the Pennines? How do you pass your international breaks?
Through that.
Yeah.
Well, a bit of both. Now, Formula One's a massive thing for me, so I'm quite lucky that I've got international break, Formula One's on, and then kind of plan my year throughout it. But again, the same. Unless a Leeds player's not playing, then I won't watch it. So.
Yeah, I'm saying, Ben, do you indulge in England and the other nations when there's not Leeds involvement, or are you one that can quite happily just leave it alone?
I kind of just switch off from football. I'm a bit like you guys. I just kind of, I'm a serial scroller on Twitter to like my detriment, to the point where I get down some really weird holes, some really weird threads. But yeah, I'm also an F1 fan, so I enjoy watching Formula One. But in terms of football, I kind of just switch off. You know,
Yeah, I do.
the
Yeah.
national team, it don't really interest me. Like we said, you know, obviously what you like watching Phillips and Bamford when in the squad, but I just find it tedious and the same as always. Is it? You know, growing up watching England, it's all nothing's ever really excited me. Yeah, we've made it to a final of a championship, but it's not a squad for me that you can kind of get behind. Or so I just kind of leave it to one side and just wait for the good stuff to come back.
I'd rather watch Leeds under 23s than England.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm on board with that. And the thing is, as well, I'm even less engaged when I see people like Tyrone Mings and Harry Maguire being called up. You kind of like it. Just, I think I'll be honest. I think it devalues England caps. I genuinely do. But again, I think I lost the. I like watching England at major tournaments because you get all the patriotism, and like the last major tournament, obviously with Calvin involved, it was absolutely banging red hot.
It was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, we're in the middle of like sort of lockdown, so like our days, me and my lad Judd and my missus and my daughter we'd get in garden. I'd set up a very crude sort of tent. The 55-inch telly would go in the tent with an extra long HDMI cable into the skybox. Just sit out there all day watching, obviously under shade, being ginger, and watching sport all day, and it were absolutely fantastic. But
I think
this international break,
the thing with international break is that it's like you come home from work and you're surprised that there's a football game on. Like there's
yeah.
It's like you know, all four of us here know when Leeds are playing, what day, what time. But it's like when England are playing, it's like you get home, you sit in front of the telly with your tea on your lap. You turn ITV on and there's England game on. You're like, the fuck? Where did that come from?
However, this international break's come at a good time for me because there was an absolutely quality MMA card at UFC London last weekend, and obviously Josh Warrington fights Kiko Martinez this Saturday, so I can indulge in my second, third love, fourth love, whatever it is, in just fighting combat sports, which I really like. So last weekend were good, and then this weekend will be just as good as well. So anyway, let's get into a little bit of Leeds United football then. So Wolves last Friday, it's almost the 1 week anniversary since Wolverhampton had severe flood alerts from lots of fans crying over the result. Not Leeds fans, may I add. First things first, lads, I really kicked myself because I had tickets and I got rid of them on the Thursday because I was working on the Friday and I didn't think I'd make it in time. And now I really regret that decision. So I have nominated myself for Shithouse of the Week, to be honest. But before we get into all that, what did you make of the first half of the game before we get into the craziness of the second half? Young Ben, what were your thoughts, mate? I know it were a bit frustrating. Our group was alive with discussions.
Well, I don't know if I really want to admit this, but I think the text that I put in at halftime of "We are down."
That was it, mate. I'm glad you brought it up because I was gonna
said the same to myself.
It was just that bad. Like it were dire. And I don't think it was as bad as Villa, but it was just the whole buzz around the squad after Norwich, around the fan base. There were a lot of expectation going into that game, not necessarily for a win, but for a performance and maybe to get some points. And it was just so deflating. Like everything about it, everything that happened just seemed to sigh and just think, it just felt like another one of them games where we're just going to get away from us, and it could have been 2, 3, 4, 5, but yeah, it was disheartening.
I felt like it summed the season up for me. I thought like if you watch that game in isolation, you could turn around and go, yeah, that's been pretty much Leeds all season, where we created decent enough chances, then we switch off for 2 fucking sloppy goals. To be fair, I mean, Llorente for the first one, I've watched it back a couple of times and he looks over his shoulder to see where Johnny is, but then still continues to get fixated on the ball.
It's not the first time he's done that kind of let that go past him, though, is it?
No, I think, to be honest, that's up there with one of his worst performances against Wolves, if I'm honest. And early on in the season, I really rated him. I felt like he were the defender who could defend and also be an outball, because he were knocking them sort of diags into areas for Rafinha and Harrison and James and stuff that were having an effect in game. But I suppose when you've got players who are low on confidence, they don't feel like like making them decisions, as in them diags, and then also simple decisions I can't seem to get right either. So I'll be honest, when he came off with his little bit of a back injury, I felt like it was a bit of a blessing in disguise, if I'm honest.
100%.
Yeah, so I feel like he's a bit woefully out of form. But yeah, I got the feeling that it just kind of summed our season up. Dan, were you on a similar wavelength, or did you have a different feeling altogether?
No, exactly the same. I'm one of these people. Our players kick the ball. I kick the ball when I'm sat here. Do you know what I mean? If you could see, if I was a bus driver and I was watching the football, the bus would be everywhere. Do you know what I mean? Because I'd be literally crashing into everything. I just hate there's certain things that players do that I know they could do better at, and like it's like, I don't know how you pronounce it, but Struick, whatever.
Well, funnily enough, Dan, Pascal's been on Twitter today, and he has announced that it is Struick, like you said. That is how you pronounce it. Yeah, Struick. Yeah.
I have my other mate calling him Strike. I have my dad calling him Shruik, whatever he's saying. You know what I mean? He's and I'm like, it's Struick. There we go. And I think he put some really bad passes in as well. I think he's going to be, his potential is absolutely incredible. I think he could be potentially wherever he goes, which national team he chooses or whatever. I think he's got a lot of potential. He needs the backing from Premier League defenders around him. I know it's bad. I love Liam Cooper, but I think he's had his day now. I think it's time for him to. I think he is Premier League quality for now, but moving forward, he's not.
You know what? It's funny you just said that, right? Because Liam Cooper single-handedly pulled Pontus Jansson through games at times, and Pontus Jansson was a far better player when Liam Cooper on the pitch. Different when Ben White came in because he was quality, but I do think that's what Struick is missing. And I do think he has got the potential. He's by far my favourite centre half at the club so far.
Oh, he's amazing! He's incredible.
I think he's missing. I don't think he's got the right partner at the minute. I think that is Cooper. I think he needs someone more vocal, a leader next to him. I don't think we've said Llorente can be pretty suspect at times. It can be solid, but it can also give the ball away in silly areas, or it can be dragged out at certain times. And
can't do that in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? You can't.
Exactly. And I just feel like, and I feel like you are exactly right in what you're saying, but he's missing the right partner, and I think that's why Cooper coming back is massive for Struick. I do. I think it'll give him a bit more confidence.
But he's got a different left back every week as well. So it's like being in the marriage, but having a different wife every week. Do you know what I mean? It's don't get me wrong. It sounds good on paper, but it's not great long term. Do you know what I mean? You need that. You need that marriage between the two. Like look at all the Premier League teams. They have the same back four, back three, whatever for most of the season. Whereas with us, it's a lottery which player we're going to have on either side. I miss Alioski. I know it sounds stupid, but I do.
Yeah,
I like
to be honest.
Players.
To be honest, you know what? I think the players, one way or another, to a man, just look like they need to limp through this season and have a bit of a reset. I think that confidence has been low pretty much all season, and I think that. And I think that obviously we've had 2 wins and stuff like that, and confidence will be a little bit higher. But I just feel like it's been a bit of a perfect storm, if that makes sense. In terms of we didn't strengthen enough in the summer. Now, whether that was a board decision to try and just limp through this season, we didn't strengthen enough. We had catastrophic injuries. We've had real hammerings, and I think all the players recognise this in themselves that. They just need to get through this season, get to the end of it, stay in the Premier League, go away to Dubai, wherever they go, and kind of have a real good rest. Like, because they have played so much football in such shit conditions as well, in terms of a season behind closed doors and then a season with injuries. And it's just, and then obviously the change of manager and whatever's gone off with that. And I just kind of feel like, I'll be honest, after the Wolves game, if somebody had turned around and said, great news, well, not great news, but bad news. The season's ending now, and PPG is what it finishes. I'd take that. I genuinely would take that, because I just feel like we just look low. I mean, I've been to so many games this year, as you all have, or watched so many games, and it's the same mistakes, it's the same problems, despite the change in personnel, and that to me just points to just low confidence, where we're making mistakes that we wouldn't normally make. And I think it's been such a difficult season, and that sounds a bit cliche, and I have a bit of sympathy for the players, to be honest, but I do also think that there's been a slight amount of mismanagement as well, in terms of we kind of left them hung out to dry in terms of such a small squad. I mean, young Archie Gray on bench at West Ham, 15. I mean, the boys are an incredible talent, but it's a big ask for a 15-year-old boy. If he'd have had to come on, that could have literally been make or break. Because how many young players have we seen come into the Leeds side and
it's a massive ask for Joffrey as well. It's a massive ask for all the young players.
And Greenwood, yeah. I mean, we saw Greenwood come on at Wolves, and I mean, you've got to take your hat off to them players. I mean, funnily enough, our content hunting earlier, and there were a bit where Leo Helder and Lewis Bate talking to a class school. I couldn't pick up where it were, but one of the questions to them was, how do you handle pressure? And both of them said, to be honest, I find it quite hard. And then you look at that and you think, Elder's 18 and Bates 19, I think. And, Bate came on against West Ham, a team that were flying at the time, away from home, and did really well. And you think, we're all there wanting young lads to do well, but we are asking a lot of them to come in and influence games massively, like we have done with Joffrey, to be honest. Harry, right, I'm going to put you on the spot, Harry. Imagine you are the Leeds United manager right now, and you've got to pick your centre-half partnership. Who would you go with? Harry Chapman is Leeds United manager. You've had your press conference. Not a Chileno type one either. Nobody's nipped out for a cigarette like that. Who's your centre-back pairing?
Because of Cooper's out, I'll probably choose Cresswell because he is a under-23s captain. Right. And probably Robin Koch.
Right, yeah, I'll go with that. To give Pascal a rest, would you subscribe to that?
Probably, or just play, because he's played left back some games this season and done pretty well. So just give him a go at left back again, even though it pulls Dallas out. But wherever Dallas plays, he performs. So
yeah, I can see the reasoning for that. Back to Molineux then. Half time comes, and I'll be honest again, I was kind of like, yeah, if it just ends now, I'll take it. I'll take 2-0. Take a 2-0 loss, because they just didn't look like they were a way back into the game for us at that point. And then obviously second half kicks off. Right, let's get into the Jimenez sending off, because if I take off my Leeds hat, I can sympathise a little bit with some of the Wolves fans. But with my Leeds hat fully on, I think he was lucky to stay on the pitch earlier on in the game with a tackle on Koch. That he does what he does, Jimenez, where he tries to leave a bit on someone, then rolls around up floor like he's injured. Whereas if you look at the one on Koch earlier and you slow it down, he's about knee high, but he's already sort of throwing himself onto the floor to make sure that he doesn't sort of leave it on him too much. But I don't think when he's already on a yellow card, they've got any argument about a second yellow. What do you guys think?
You've also missed the dive, what he did. On Stewart, and Stewart got booked.
And they scored from that as well, by the way.
But I'd just say it looked 50-50 to me. But as referees say, you've always got to protect the goalkeeper. No matter what, you protect the keeper.
You have, but taking your leads off again, how far was he out of his box and stuff like that? Yeah. You've got to think about things like that. And I think I very rarely take my leads off, and I find it difficult to take my leads off. Do you know what I mean? I take it difficult to take my lead shirt off in Manchester, so I'm going to take my leads off in life. Do you know what I mean? But if I wasn't a Leeds fan, I'd be kicking off the other way. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think just the way you got to look at it is if Melee comes out in that position and clears him out there, there's a chance he's getting sent off for that.
Yeah, if Jimenez gets there slightly before Melia, then Melia walks for that. So on that basis, you have got an argument, I think, for a second
the
yellow.
Question is it reckless? And it kind of is. The ball's getting away from him. Every right as a striker to go and to win that ball, but I felt like it got to a point where he were never winning that ball, and it was just it were like bracing himself for a collision rather than pulling out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just one of them. You know, as a Leeds fan, we're always going to agree with the decision, but it is what it is. And you know, they were lucky not. Were it Moutinho who made a tackle as well? Or were it on Dallas?
Yeah, that was in the build up
Yeah.
to Rodrigo's goal, wasn't it? To the second.
You know,
second
so
goal.
it swings and roundabouts, and then over the course of this year, we've had absolutely zero luck in any game with injuries. And if anyone's going to moan, then I can quite happily just all man's going to say fair enough, but we've kind of deserved that luck.
Yeah, we
You know,
did.
in that game we had four injuries, 4 substitutions, 4 due to injury. Playing kids, they had a striker sent off. It's not like, you know, the best centre half or the goalkeeper was sent off, and they're playing with someone in between sticks that's not even a goalkeeper. They had essentially their full defensive unit on the field. They shit the bed. You know, the pressure got to them, and that it's nothing. The sending off is nothing to do with the result. It's a turning point in the game, but it's because their heads completely went, and we got at them. It's to our credit because we just got in the faces, and we didn't give them an inch. They shit the bed. They completely didn't want it. From that first goal that went in, I could genuinely see us coming back from it. And on our genuinely saw us coming back from it, and it's testament to the character that we've seen, not just this season, not just last season, but previous seasons. You know, look at the comebacks against Blackburn and Villa over the Christmas period in Bielsa's first season. All of that, it's still instilled in that squad's brain, you know, not to give up, to keep fighting, to keep going. And it's taken Marsh to come in. They've been on the knees, this squad. They've been crippled, completely depleted, you know, head in the sky, not a fucking clue what's going on because shit's really at the fan this season. They've not been performing. And although, you know, whatever you want to say about the managerial change and when it happened and how it happened, it's happened. And he's come in, he's put his arm around the shoulder. You can see players playing with confidence again, like Click, like Rodrigo, being key players in this squad, grinding out results now. And that's just what happened. So you can say it's luck, you can say it shouldn't have happened, but the result came from determination, graft from the players on the pitch. And, you know, the Wolves could have set up with a back 10, just sit there, hoof ball out, let us keep coming. But, you know, we intimidated him and really give it his best shot. And that's credit to the mentality over the last 3 to 4 years. And it's just been, I think, really brought back and instilled in their mind. They've been reminded just how good they are and just what they're capable of. And that's where we're starting to succeed against Norwich and against Wolves now, I think.
Fair play to Wolves, though, when you've got a Scouser as a captain and you've got Portuguese everywhere and you've got a Scouser shouting at you, you're not going to know what to do, really, are you? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I tried to point this out to a couple of Wolves fans, and a good mate of mine at work is a Wolves fan, and he texted me after the game and he just went, fair play. Like, Wolves fans got really fixated on the fact that Jimenez got sent off. What they didn't get fixated on what is Conor Cody doing for the second goal when the ball falls out of the sky and he tries to bring it down for whatever reason. And like Ben said, they had the striker sent off. You know what, like we all sat here now as football fans, you know what the job is then. Break up the game, sit deep, 2 banks of 4, break us down, make it awkward, make it horrible, kick it out, roll it on the floor, which Wolves are exceptional at because it's what they do. But they never tried to do that. And I would be actually, as a Wolves fan, looking at Bruno Longface saying, hold on a minute. Like, how have we not managed to see that against a team who at one point shipped 16 goals in 3 games or something ridiculous like that, whatever the figure is. And what made it even funnier for me was I piped it in from South Africa because I can't listen to Sky Sports, and funnily enough had Karen Kearney on, and before at half time she was saying, Wolves don't concede from set pieces, they don't concede many at all, blah 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 blah. And then, like Ben said, Wolves, once they lost Jimenez, their asses fell out and they just didn't know what to do. They didn't know how they could see the game out. You've got to look to your captain, you've got to look to your manager to give them direction how they're going to see the game out. They didn't do that. Leeds got in the face, terrified the living daylights out of them. We could have scored a couple of times in that second half. And then obviously it drops to Ayling after Rodrigo, you know, again, like a wasp, just a persistent itch, Rodrigo.
He is, isn't he?
Yeah, now he's got, I mean, I stuck up for him a little bit earlier in the season. I went to Burnley away and He got a bit of hammer at that, but you watch him off the ball and he's always trying to make things happen. Sometimes it doesn't always come off. He's guilty of an heavy touch, but he literally never stops. The amount of graft he gets through, even when he's having, a torrid time. And then obviously it's come out today, Graham Smith from the YEP's done an article saying that basically he had the similar issue to what Paddy Bamford's got at the minute with the fash at the bottom of his foot. And he said that at one point he couldn't actually walk. At all. So I'm not making excuses for him. He's at times you want more from him as a £27 million Spain international, but for take him on his recent performances, the last 2 games against Norwich and Wolves, I can't fault him. I think he's been fantastic, and it looks like bringing him into that leadership group. Which the first question I've got about that is: do they get a pin badge or is it a tie? Have they got a special breakout space? Like when I were at school, the prefects used to go have in their own little room and stuff. I want to know these things. Do they have these things that we're asking?
See, I just imagine the leadership group like all sat in these big leather chairs with a fire on, glass of whiskey, and just kind of swirling and just talking utter shit. That's how I imagine what a leadership group meeting.
Smoking cigars.
Yeah.
Throwing an empty plastic cup at Liam McCarron as he walks past. Fill that, boy, as he wanders past. Something along them lines. But going back to Rodrigo and joking apart, he was extremely poor against Villa, but he wasn't alone in being extremely poor. The team were poor, and I think he's been class in the last 2 games, to be honest.
Do you think he's working harder than what he usually does because he knows he's coming? Not so much to the end of his career, but he hasn't got much long left, has he? A lot.
I don't know, mate. I think that the work ethic has always been there. I just don't think that I don't think it's been working out for him. And then as a result of that, lack of injuries, COVID, confidence. Confidence is massive for footballers. Of course it is. At any level, I'm sure we've all played at some point. If you're having a shit game, it sticks to you. Nothing seems to come off. It bounces off you. It's awful. And then no different. But again, like taking me sort of, wanting him to do well, hat off. We have needed to see more from him, from the money that we've paid for him, and an influence. And now we're starting to see it, I think. And I think he'll be vital for the running, to be honest, if we can keep him fit.
If you think of Rodrigo, when Bielsa was here, he was playing that position as well. Because watching him for Valencia in Spain is just striker, number 9.
Yeah, I don't know. When we first got linked with him, I watched him quite a bit for Valencia, and to me, he always looked like he started out wide and drifted in. Yeah, left or right, a little bit like Thierry Henry used to do for Arsenal, where he was the striker, but he never started in the sort of central area. He always kind of drifted from the left and worked in them sort of half spaces. And I personally don't think he's a 9. I don't think he's physically strong enough to be a 9.
I don't think he's selfish enough.
Yeah, I agree, mate. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, obviously he wears the number 9 shirt for Spain, and he has played as a 9 for Spain, so he can play there. But I just don't feel like he is a 9, to be honest. I feel like he's one of them luxury players where you go and float and just influence the game, just go and do your bit, kind of thing.
Is he a false 9, guys?
He's everything but a false 9, and we never have fucking double pivots or cams and all this shite as well.
Do you think it's kind of credit to maybe Marsh and how he's come in and handled him as a senior player in the group? Because I do feel like Bielsa was very much a father figure to all the players, but in a very, very different way. They looked up to him, they respected him, but he treated all the players as equals from the 18s, 16s, all the way up. Whereas Marsh has kind of come in and he's got the more senior members of the squad in. He's put their arm around it and said, "Look, you're good enough. This is what we know you can do. Go do it and get a reaction out of these lads as well." He's kind of put him on a pedestal. He's told Rodrigo, blah, blah, you are good enough. Take these games by the bollocks and the rest will come, sort of thing. It's almost just like it's just an arm around shoulder, like I keep saying. And that, I feel like his approach is almost being welcomed just because he's the same kind of fatherly figure, but he shows it in a very, very different way. He's a lot more vocal. He interacts with him a lot more, and you can see that already.
I think that a manager like they've got now is kind of what this group of players needed. That run of games when we got demolished by, well, pretty much everybody who we took to the pitch and injuries and all that. I watched some of the players trudge off, and some of them just like they really needed an arm around them and saying, it'll be all right. And I don't think that they got that from Marcelo because of it just wasn't his style kind of thing. Whereas obviously Marsh has come in and it's very clear that is his style, that he is very much a man manager. And we've seen such Leeds United legends, and I say that tongue in cheek, as Lloyd, Sam, and Mike Grella coming out and saying that it's fantastic to work for and all that type of stuff. So, I think.
Do you know what? Do you know what I will say? Sorry, is Bielsa's standards were almost his downfall. In that he would not celebrate a win. He would not celebrate, a run of games. You didn't see him celebrate until we'd won something. That's when you really saw him. He came out of his shell, and that's where he really give the lads credit. That's all what we saw anywhere. In his mind, those footballers walked on that pitch to win a game of football. That was their job. So why would you reward them for that? Why would you reward a team for winning a game? Because that's what they're expected to do. And I feel like Marsh's approach is completely different. Do you know what I mean? It's like because Bielsa has such high. He's a perfectionist. He has such high standards. He expects the best. Until they reach the best, which is promotion, which is win the league. There's no reward. Why reward players for doing the job? And I think that's kind of how it works in his mind, because like he's such a perfectionist, and that's why he's so intriguing. Just the way that he thinks, the way that he works, it's so different to anything else.
Go on. Sorry, Dan. Go on.
Do you think the difference is with like Bielsa was more regimented, wasn't he? Whereas Marsh is more motivational. Whereas I don't know if it's anything to do with that he can speak English or Yank, whatever you call it. But do you think that's anything to do with the language barrier and how he puts across to players?
I think you're right, and I think we've seen stories of Bielsa going into dressing rooms. I think it was at Lille when they were 2-3-0 down at half time. He just calmly talks to the players and tells them, "You do this, it'll work." And it's that instills that belief in the players that keep doing what you're doing and it'll work. If you watch the video of Jesse Marsh when Salzburg are 3-0 down at Liverpool, I don't think I'd like to be sat in the dressing room because they're getting a fucking proper rocket.
Yeah.
And I do feel like, we talk about the soft approach, but that's what the players needed as well. They need that rocket. They needed to get their finger out their ass and be told, this ain't good enough. But now when they put that level of performance in, they get the rewards afterwards, and it's like a juggling act, a balancing act. I think that's what he's come in and done. I said to you in the group chat, I don't think he's as nice as he comes across, Jesse Marsh.
No,
I think he's got a little bit of a bastard side to him. I think he can be a bit nasty, and I think that's why I like him, and I think that's why I think it'll work. We saw him joke with the journalists and do the the joke about people not taking him seriously.
Yeah.
To me, that just sums him up. And, I don't, he's getting credit, but I don't think he's getting enough credit because, he's inherited a very depleted squad, low on confidence. And you know what? We're not going to see much of what he can bring to the table until next season because all these next few games are about is dragging out results to stay in the Premier League. I said it last week. But, what he has done is he's instilled and reaffirmed that belief. And like I said, it's the way that he acts. He does. I think maybe he does play it to the camera sometimes, but it's in certain situations, it's not just a calming, steady influence. He's reactive, and I think that's what's been required.
He's talking the talk and he's walking the walk a little bit as well, which us as Leeds fans we're not used to. Do you know what I mean? It's been a long time since we've seen someone say, "This is what I'm going to do," and they've done it. Apart from the Villa game, you know what I mean? Put that aside, but we've got a result out of the last two games, and that's what we need. So he is talking the talk and he is walking the walk, but I don't want him to fail on the talk. Do you know what I mean?
He's talking to a group of fans who've been told by Dave Opperday that we're going to get Champions League football. So if anyone can sell us a dream, you know what I mean? We've been there before. So yeah, I think credit to him. I do, and I'm sure we'll get onto it more, but he needed them 2 games, them 2 results against Norwich and against Wolves. And it's really bought him some breathing room, and I think from now on they can start to focus more on how they want to play, because let's be honest, that Wolves game were just reminiscent of how we played on Bielsa. Intense in your face. Yeah. There were no real change, maybe a change in formation, but when it came down to it, it was just chaotic.
But the thing is, Ben, that's one thing I like already. So I went to the King Power Filbert Street place, and they played 4-2-2-2. And in that game, it worked. Against Villa, it was woeful and it didn't work. But then I went to the 23s against the Scum 23s, and the 23s lined up 4-2-1-3. And then we saw the first team line up in a similar setup. So for me, it shows the flexibility. He recognised the things that fans had started to recognise, that the 4-2-2-2, we're probably not quite ready to play that yet, because your Raffs and your Harrisons, probably more so Raff, looked lost because they were too narrow, and then the team were compact and we were struggling. And really, Villa took real advantage of that, because Matty Cash and Dina on the other side, they had pretty much the play of Ellen Road at either side of the field. So I quite like the fact that he's recognised that and he's changed it already, a slight tweak sort of formationally to give us a bit more kind of width. I'll be honest, I really like him. I know we've digressed away from Wolves, and we will come back in a minute and talk about his reaction to Aylin's winner, but I really do like him as a bloke, as a manager. And when obviously we got the nudge from Phil that Marcelo was going and Marsh was the next in, I spent most of the weekend watching webinars and stuff that he'd done about his style, but not so much about his tactics, because I'll be honest, I'm not quite as clued up or as he was talking about, in terms of phases of play and stuff like that. But just him as a bloke, as a man, and the things he's done, and I quite like that he's pretty self-deprecating around the American thing, because I always remember me and Raggy interviewed Neil Kilkenny, and he said that there's a stigma in British football about this is British football and this is how it should be played and this is how we should talk about football and blah, 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 blah. And obviously Marsh is well aware of this, because he's made reference to it a few times that, Ted Lasso and I talk funny and all this type of stuff. And I'll be honest, I feel like it's a bit of lazy journalism from certain elements of the mainstream media to just focus on the fact that he's American. And we've seen with the Wolves fans crying this week, it was a constant nudge towards him being American, calling it soccer, although he's never called it soccer once. And I think, Leeds United are always best with the backs against the wall, and I think that counts for the manager as well. And if he feels like he's at a disadvantage to other managers in there, I feel like he's the character that will drive him on, and it'll get the best out of him as a manager, because he'll feel like he's at a disadvantage.
Totally. I mean, this is it's a very much working class city, a very honest, humble group of fans, and we always have been, and we always expect the best. Not necessarily, to win things, but we just want hard work and honesty from the players to reflect, the personality of the fans. And there's a very, very good article that I mentioned earlier in the group chat where Phil's done an interview with Jesse Marsh, and it comes from a very, normal American family. His dad were a very hard worker. He worked in a tractor farm building tractors. Yeah, tractor factory. It's like, there's a lot more similarities there than you actually realise. And he's a good fit as a personality, and I just like I hope he can succeed. And I think that's all down to the backing in the summer and how that plays out personally. Yeah.
Agree. Let's go back in time then to Molyneux, because we've run off on a bit of a tangent, what we do on this podcast quite a bit. When Luke Aylin scored, I was sat at one end of the settee. My son, who comes with me all the time to watch Leeds, was sat at the other end of the settee. And between, as a physical barrier, was my wife. When Aylin's goal went in, I did that thing that you do in the stadium, which was like, I needed to just jump around like a lunatic with my, partner in crime when it comes to Leeds United. So I think what I should have done and what I did do, if on reflection, I would have done it slightly different. What I did do was shove my missus off the settee, jump over her, and celebrate with my son, and then turn around to see my missus sat on the floor as opposed to being sat on the settee, and thought, I might be in trouble here. And then I got a little bit of stick, but lads, being clever, spun it around and said, I tried to climb over you, but because I'm big and clumsy, I accidentally caught my leg and dragged you onto the floor. I didn't mean to shove you on the floor. When in reality, it was like, get the fuck out of the way, I'm celebrating. Yeah.
I mean, I celebrated quite loudly at 2-1. So at that point,
me too.
At that point, my better half were kind of laid on me asleep. That's what the first half did to her. so she kind of woke up and stormed off to bed at that point. Silent celebration at 2-2, a little bit of a fist pump. But then bollocks out. Like, I've got a little footstool in front of my sofa. So 3-2, I jumped up, that flew off. I've got a little lantern in front of the fireplace that were on the floor, and then there were clothes horse, like with all washing out, that just went on the floor as well. But she's like a really heavy sleeper, so I woke up next morning, I'm like, did you hear that last night? And she's like, yeah, what? I went absolutely batshit crazy.
Good. Yeah, good.
And then
Dan,
I said to her, she went to bed like I said, 2-1. I said, I'll be up at I'll be up in about 15-20 minutes, and I don't think I could sleep. I would just start like I think I didn't get to bed until like 1 o'clock.
I did that thing of I went to the shop and bought myself some Star of Pramen, which is my latest tipple of choice, and I bought myself some for Friday night and some for Saturday night, because Star of Pramen is quite a unique ale in Barnsley, and it's quite hard to find. You have to go to Sainsbury's, and there's not many of them in Barnsley. So so I bought myself, Friday nights and Saturday nights. The reality of Luke Aylin's goal was I drank Friday nights, a bit of Saturday nights, and then had to watch farming programs to just bring myself down a little bit before I could go to bed. And I just did that mindless scrolling of various different fan angles of Leeds fans going berserk. And my mate, who I go to the game with, Adam Stocks from the Gone Off on a Tangent podcast, FaceTimed me from in the ground as well, where all the Leeds fans going berserk, which didn't help the mood in settling me back down. So I think I strudged off to bed at about 12:30. Star of Pramen up to gills, still singing "Do Luke Aylin."
See, if Leeds United don't kill you with an heart attack, they'll kill you in liver failure, won't they?
Yeah, definitely, without a shadow of doubt. Yeah. Dan, what was your reaction to Aylin's winner in the 91st minute? Was there any danger of Superman coming off the wall just over
Absolutely.
your shoulder?
Well, my wife took the kids out to it was her cousin's party, and I said, finished work at 6:30. I think was the match 7:45, 8:45 or 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock,
and, yeah. And I said, I'm not coming to the party. I don't want to go around with a bunch of City fans and United fans watching the game on TV. I'd rather sit in my bar, watch it on my own. And I'm glad I did, because I opened my bar door, ran around my garden. My neighbours know I'm a fucking lunatic when it comes. I've got a guy who lives about 10 houses down the road. He's a massive United fan, and when we walk the dogs along the canal, he's like, you know what I hate? When United fans say, I really like watching Leeds. That really pisses me off. When scum say, I love watching Leeds. Fuck off. Anyway, that's another story. So, yeah, he texts me saying, I can hear you. And I'm like 10 houses down the road. Just ran around my garden on my own. Probably did a Luke Aylin thing, tumble on the floor. Do you know what I mean? Like, cartwheel. I will watch Leeds till the last minute, because there's always something inside me that says, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Like, yeah. I think it's probably from that Villa game a couple of years ago, with Jack Clark, was it? When he scored. Yes,
Kemar Roof, wasn't it? Kemar Roof.
Yeah, Roof, yeah. But Jack Clark scored, and yellow kit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I always think that something's going to happen. And it happened, and I was like absolutely buzzing. Like Thingy said, you go to bed and you think to yourself, that was amazing. And you just look when your wife gets in, you give her a kiss, and you're like, good night. You just, because that's Friday night determines your weekend. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Determines how you're going to be as a dad with your kids, how you're going to be as a husband. And sometimes I try and not think about it, but that, give my wife a kiss in the morning, give my kids a kiss. I was chatting to him, and I was like, love yous. If that was a different result, I'd be, don't know what I'd be doing.
Well, my good lady wife, when she picked herself up off the floor, she now has an interest in Leeds. but not because she likes football or Leeds, because she knows that it'll reflect the mood of me and my son. So she wants Leeds to win because she knows she'll get a better version of us.
Yeah.
But like the funny thing is, post Wolves, although I went at the game, was just like pure elation and laughing at the situation. The Norwich game, because I was inside Ellen Road, I remember going berserk when obviously Joffrey scores, and then I remember just feeling incredibly drained, like incredibly tired. I remember like queuing to get out of the ground, and I spent a lot of time like sort of looking up at the rafters thinking, thank God that's over with. Thank God that we didn't lose that game, because at 1-1, I'd slammed my seat and called them all cowards and carried on like you do when you're a bit of an emotional fan. But yeah, the Wolves one were just pure elation. Ari, I know you caught it on highlights due to work, but do you have a memory of a game at Ellen Road or elsewhere where you went batshit crazy?
I think my memory what sticks in my mind, Bristol Rovers promotion game. I remember I was top tier, top row. Felt sick after eating Gravely's, as you do. And
other chips are available.
Sponsors, obviously, Gravely's.
And when the first goal went in and Gray were getting sent off, I just thought, we ain't going to do this.
Yeah.
And fans were shouting, get Beckford off. But since Howson came on and Grayson changed it, the game just went berserk. All I can just remember now is, I can still hear it to this day, Ben Fry shouting, please get off the pitch.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that myself. Yeah, I was in the West Stand. It's the only game I've took in the West Stand, I think, for that game. And I left half my shin on the wooden seats in the West Stand when the winner went in, because I'd thrown my program indiscriminately down the stadium when they scored. When Daryl Duffy scored for them to make it 1-0. I couldn't do the playoffs again after the Millwall game the pre-season before. I just couldn't do it again. I could just not bring myself to do that again. And
now looking at it, I because I listen to the Leeds United podcast like probably all of you do, and the LS11, I see Ben Parker and I just think, your knees must be knackered because I saw you celebrating on crutches.
Yeah, Kiz Norbo were on crutches as well, weren't he?
Kiz Norbo on crutches.
Doing his Achilles, I think. Yeah. Anyway, unbelievable game. Before I move on, then, to do a bit more talking about Jesse Marsh's start as Leeds United, we'll get some comments in because they are absolutely flying in tonight. So let's have a little look here. Find me a microphone back up. Jason Taylor says evening. Hope everyone's well. We are indeed. Ben Tillotson says evening. Stuart Charleston says evening. We did have a comment. Oh, here we go. Simon, evening, chaps. Listening from Florida. It's absolutely pissing it down. All Leeds, aren't we? Yeah. That's class, Florida. David Lofthouse says, yeah, me too, Dan. Sporting highlight F1 again this weekend. Mark Jones says that, yeah, as he agrees, England is boring to watch. Michael Brown just saying here, not the same one that played for Blades, I don't think. But congratulations to Stuart Dallas on equaling Lucas Radaby's league appearance for Leeds. 267 against Wolves. Yeah, that's incredible. To say that we signed him as a right winger who had been sort of a non-league player at some point.
He needs holiday, that man, doesn't he?
Jesus, it's phenomenal, really.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway,
he looks tired as well. Go on.
Yeah. I wonder what he looked like without a beard. I think there are some photos knocking about of him, but I think he's openly said that he's never shaved it off. Michael Brown again. Go on.
Picture going round on. I think it was a few years ago. LUTV did a series of who's guessed a player when they was younger, and Luke Ayling got Stuart Dallas.
Go ahead.
And he had just like 90s attire on, like shirt, striped shirt. I'll see if I can find it later on.
Yeah, send us in. We'll post it up. Michael Brown says he went mental. Leeds United's first victory away to Wolves since 1973. That was. So yeah, that's pretty impressive. Dan's changed himself into a white circle with a picture emoji, but we'll get him back in a second. Bremner's Ghost says, first time I ended up flying celebrating, I was 9 against QPR in 1987 FA Cup, ended up laying on top of the police control box in the northwest corner. Yeah, that's good. And Carol Drew says Dallas doesn't get the recognition
That's
he
my mum.
deserves. Is that your mum?
Yeah,
Hello, Harry's mum.
She's a massive Dallas fan.
Oh, yeah. Well, she's right, though, to be fair. I think he does, to be honest. I think, obviously, player of the year last year and players player of the year last year, I think that's probably the recognition he would want. John Lonergan says, I know this sounds crazy, but I think 4 players going off injured has changed our look. Yeah, let's just have a little bit of talk about the injuries. Have you ever seen a game like that where it was like, he's down, next man up, he's down, next man up, like Click getting a massive cock in face to damage his face in the way it did. It just seemed like one of them games where you're like, all right, great, next, who's up next? And then obviously Melia coming off and bringing on Klaassen. You just think this is crazy, and he made some good saves, Klaassen, to be honest.
Yeah.
When I saw the tweet of Klaassen coming on, I just thought, oh God, seeing some of his performance in the under-23s, I'm thinking it's going to be Peacock Farrell 2.0 and just looking down.
To be fair to him, when I went to the Scum 23s game, he made some incredible saves in that game. I think the saving isn't his issue. The problem with him has been, I think, his feet and his distribution at times and a bit of technical stuff. So I thought he did well when he came on, to be fair, and you can only judge him on that.
There were a kick where it didn't quite pass the halfway line, and yeah, I just thought I thought it was a bit of a strange one, like.
Yeah, but that's what we've got. He is the number 2 goalkeeper, so we'll see. And if Melier's pelvis isn't better, maybe he starts against Southampton.
We call Kiko.
We won't be doing that, I don't think. He can't get in the Elche team, so I don't think he's coming back to get in this team. So yeah, that caused that. Just while Dan continues to sort his camera out, how many more points then, lads? How many more points to keep us in the Premier League?
Can you hear me?
7.
Sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you, mate. Yeah, we can hear you. So yeah, 7 points clear. He's back. Look, back in the game. 7 points clear of the relegation zone as we stand. How many more? How many more keeps us up? Have we got enough now, or do we need more? Because I've seen a few people on Twitter said that we've got enough now.
I think 2 wins. If we can win our next 2, I think that sees us safe.
Have you got Southampton and Watford next, or
Southampton and Watford next year? Yeah,
I think 6 points. But I think
I agree.
If you put a grand you look at the last couple of seasons, it's been like the 35 mark. So I think 35 to the usual 40 sees us safe. But
this is Leeds, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You don't. They set their own bars.
I'd like it not to be though this year. Can we just get it done with so we can all just like relax, please, as soon as possible?
I'd hate for it to go down to the final couple of fixtures. I'd need it to be done like now.
Yeah,
couldn't be doing it. Was it Villa last year that nearly went down?
Yeah.
Year before I wanted.
Dan, Harry, do you think 2 more wins keeps us up?
2 wins, and as long as we can get like a few draws with safe, and as long as the fraud can keep Everton down, I'm quite happy.
For fraud. Do you know what worries me a little bit about them? If they sack him, that's what worries me. If they sack him, they might get someone in who could do some shit with them. So that's what worries me about that. But sorry, Dan. Anyway, yeah, you think we'll be fine?
Yeah. Do you know what? I think this international break is going to be massive for us. Like getting Phillips back, and I don't know what's going to happen with Bamford. I've heard talks about like bullshit on Twitter, like this could be career threatening for him. But yeah, I think 2 wins, couple of draws. The thing is, when we played City last time, they didn't have much to play for because they'd already won the league. Whereas now they're attacking Liverpool, aren't they? So
what he said, it was 7-0 last time, so it's going to be 14.
No, well, could be. Nah, we've got Phillips back. He'll sort it out. He'll sort them all out.
Do you know, like Leeds aside, 7 points clear of them. I just don't see Burnley, Watford, Everton. I know they've got games in hand, but I don't see them stringing together 2 or 3 wins on the trot.
Well, like Everton, they really did scrape over the line against Newcastle, but then they went to Palace in FA Cup and they got torn to shreds. I mean, they are terrible, and the fact they beat us 3-0 this season were like a complete catastrophe. But on the flip side to that, and I've said it all the time, that was Frank Lampard's cup final. he absolutely despises, and I don't care what he says in the press, he despises Bielsa. And that win with Derby in the semi-final of FA Cup will be the highlight of his managerial career because he's shit.
Do you think he had a shit in his own dressing room as like some sort of weird ritual after beating us in playoff semis and then beating us 3-0 for Everton?
I hope he broke a tooth while eating toffee.
Broke a hand in it? Did he break his hand in one of those?
Bollocks. No.
You're not having him, Ben, are you? You're not having
him?
No, I massively dislike him, but I think yours is on a different level of dislike.
I hate him as well.
He is a completely massive bellend.
Yeah, I'm on board with that.
It's just his entitlement. It's his entitlement. It's because of his career as a player, which are impressive. Yeah, it was, and probably one of England's best midfielders ever, and Chelsea's highest goal scorer. But fuck me, he don't half moan. It's the way that he goes about his business. He took Derby, who finished 6th, to 6th. By spending even more money. It ruined, the relationship with Chelsea was ruined because he has no managerial experience. When he left Chelsea, there were players saying at the end they were just told to go on the pitch and express themselves. Like, you know what? And that is pointed out. Like, if you in his post matches, he blames the Everton players. Well, I told them these tactics. If they're doing the tactics, we'll win games. So they're not doing that. He's throwing them on the bus already.
Mate, the one that sticks out for me is he beat us in playoff semi-finals where they didn't beat us. Our asses fell out. As in, it wasn't a tactical masterclass where they beat us. His arse fell out. And then he tried to line up the exact same way against Villa in the playoff final that he lined up against us, and Villa just spanked him. So it just shows his ineptness as a tactician and as a coach, really. And yeah, I dislike him for the carry on from Spygate, to be honest. Embellishing stories, bolt croppers and
he's got a horrible mouth.
And
the way he talks.
It's more akin to a bottom than a mouth. But I'm not a fan.
I actually don't hold grudges that much in life. Believe it
I do
not.
against it. There's two people, Max Verstappen and Frank Lampard. There's two people.
Max Verstappen.
See, I'm a massive Max fan, to be fair.
I hate Max. Oh, right. Stop the podcast now.
But yeah, Frank Lampard, he every time he talks, he makes my issue with him worse. Do you know what I mean? He just digs a grave for himself.
Yeah. Who else would you put in your little box then, Ben, of people who you dislike but don't bear a grudge against? So we've got Frank in there. Let's keep it football, by the way. I don't want like Marjorie from down street because she nicks us milk or something. Football wise, who else is it who you just cannot stand? As soon as the mouth opens, you like get off the telly immediately.
Steve Morrison. Dean Smith.
Yeah, Dean Smith's up there.
Chris Wilder.
Darren Kearney?
No, I don't mind Chris Wilder, to be fair. No, I don't mind Kearney either. Cristiano Ronaldo, he's not even his voice, just the look of him. Can't stand him.
Gabby Agbonlahor.
Prick. Yeah, Alan Brazil. Hate Alan Brazil.
Alan Brazil's up there. But Alan McCoist is a god. Alan McCoist is a god. And Laura Woods is a goddess for more reasons than one. Like, Laura Woods is class. Absolutely class.
She is. She's not biased towards Arsenal either, is she? If someone's playing. No. Yeah.
Her and what do I call the girl who does Match of the Day?
Scott.
Yeah, them two are class.
Yeah,
they are
absolutely class. I would have them on every teleprogram. Them, Lucy Ward. Let's get them doing the majority of football commentary. No disrespect to the others. I just really like them. I think they're very, very good. To be fair, and the manager as well, whose name eludes me again, Emma Hayes. Emma Hayes is fantastic as well. Really like them. So we've got a few coming in here. And Boove, in a real turn of events, I hate Alan Shearer.
Ooh. Did you see the picture of Alan Shearer today?
With Ian Wright in London?
Put your hand above his head. That is literally Simon Cowell without hair. Have a look at it and you'll see what I mean. Yeah.
I'll have a little look at that. Alan Shearer, when I was a kid growing up, because he was kind of at his pomp and he was doing so well for England, like Euro 96 and all that. I know that was the year you were born, Harry, so that makes me feel quite old. But like I always liked him, but I have heard some stories that kind of put you off him a little bit. Other names in here, John Lonergan. He's even put an expletive in between the name to really drive it home. Alex Kim Ferguson, so that's in there.
There's two, right? I mentioned Jurgen Klopp. I can't stand Jurgen Klopp just because he whines. And there's something about Harvey Elliott as well. I don't like Harvey Elliott. I've got like a grudge against Harvey Elliott.
Mate, you could field the full 11 of players of people who you've got a grudge, and have a manager, and probably a coaching staff as well.
And an under 23s as well.
I could potentially field a full league, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Mandy says Ashley Young. She hates Ashley Young.
Yeah, get that.
I'll go with that. News here, David Lofthouse says Mike Dean's going permanently to VAR. Yeah, Mike Dean's announced his retirement from reffing, at the end of the season. No great loss for me.
No.
Not a fan of Mike Dean at all.
Did you hear what Warnock said about him?
No, what did Warnock say about him?
It's 10 years too late.
Oh, Neil, bless him. Matt on Facebook says Bruno Fernandes. Yeah, he's got a face that you can't like.
He has, hasn't he?
Face only a mother would love. God, who else have I got to stick in there? God, we could be here all night, to be honest, just bouncing names backwards and forwards.
John
Terry. Yeah, John Terry would be up there as well. Yeah, dislike John Terry.
I'll do it.
Rio Ferdinand. He's up there now. Definitely
because he's just so boring.
Well, I've got a Michael Owen story, but I'm not going to put it on air because he'll probably come and sue me. But Andrew Normington, good one here. Tyrone Mings.
Yeah,
Tyrone Mings. Yeah. Bremner's Ghost says, got all night, guys, carry on. I was just going, yeah, don't like him, dickhead. Don't like them, dickhead. Ryan Giggs, yeah, dickhead. Don Goodman, yeah. I don't particularly dislike him. I dislike his views on Leeds and the fact that he co-coms on the Championship and appears to know nothing about football. Neymar is coming on the list. Neymar.
Maybe we'll just do a podcast where we like
just name people we dislike.
People we don't like. Yeah.
I know Raggy's.
Go on. Oh yeah, Raggy loves Connie Cody.
Hinchcliffe.
And Andy Hinchcliffe is not a fan of him either. So yeah. Anyway, let's move on a little bit then. So we've talked about how many points to stay up. We've talked briefly about Jesse Marsh, and as Ben alluded to, there's a very good article by Phil in The Athletic talking about Jesse Marsh and his growing up in and around obviously America near Chicago, otherwise known as Chicago, and his sort of journey into football, which at the time I think he said he played hockey, ice hockey, American togger ball, and what else were he saying he was playing? Baseball. And I think they had to drive something like 45 minutes to find him a football club to be able to go play at. And then the kid who was best mates with now, he hated him. And yeah, I like him. I'm fully on board with Jesse Marsh, to be honest. Obviously, there's been a few transfer rumours coming about, and we've had a couple of questions in here about what we think about Rafinha and all that type of stuff. To be honest, it's not something I'm even considering until we find out where we are in terms of next season. Are we in the Premier League or are we not in the Premier League? I think then we'll start having a discussion about who comes in, who stays, who goes, all that type of stuff. Who's near a rail station? Who is that?
Me. I live on the East Coast main line.
You live on the East Coast main line. We had a few people.
You need to put a little webcam on your ad.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, get a webcam on your
ad. My garden's right behind.
Is that the title of this podcast? East Coast Main Line.
Yes, absolutely. Harry, does that go on all night?
Yeah.
Mate, how do you sleep?
Quite easily.
Well, obviously soundly, yeah, by sounds of things. Wow, good effort.
You get used to it after the time. I suppose it's like living in Barnsley.
Mate, there's no train stations around here. We're still on gas-powered stuff. There's no train. Moving on then. So Jesse Marsh, we've obviously discussed him quite a lot. Obviously England coming up this weekend. Who they're playing?
Ivory Coast is one. I can't remember the one. Only because it's first time we played Ivory Coast. That's why I know that.
Any chance of Max Gradle playing for Ivory Coast? Is
Potentially.
he still in the side?
I
Scored
hope
a
he
worldie,
scores.
didn't he? In the scored a
Yeah.
worldie in the African Cup of Nations, didn't he? Yeah. Just I wanted to just bring this up. I don't know if any of you have seen it. If you listen to Victor Orta, it sounds like we're staying up with a small squad, which is worrying. Right, I have a slight bit about this. Like the quote that was put out by a Leeds related website on Twitter, if keep it that way, has no quotes attached to it, as in where it's come from. It's just a picture of Victor and this thing. I mean, I'm not defending him at all, but we get the people getting out of the pram based on some quotes that don't appear like they don't say where they're from. Like, where's he? You know, is this a text message conversation with someone, or
Is
has
it
he
about
done
promoting youth? Was it?
Yeah, he's talking
Yeah.
about how we want.
Seen
I mean, is it? I think with Twitter particularly, you've got to be a little bit careful because as we have been victims of ourselves as a podcast, a rumor or something created by somebody within a couple of days becomes a thing, and it can really sway opinion. I think with Victor, I know they've come in for some ammo with obviously what's happened with Bielsa. I think first and foremost is when we get to the summer, is he even still at the club? I think before we go any further with that. Same with Kinnear, same with everyone else, like same with the ownership. I think there's so many things that could happen in the summer that it's not really worth getting out of his pram about it right now, if that makes sense. Let's just wait and see. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I
I
think
think it may just be a comment that's taken from either a while ago or out of context, because as a club we've always prided ourselves on youth development. First and foremost, it's always what we've done, and we've been really successful over the last few years, especially in supplementing the first team with quality youth players. To the point where we've got these players who are almost too good to be sat in the 23s, and we don't have much to do. We don't know what to do with them. Look at Cody Drama. Look at the Somerville kind of fiasco that went on as well in the summer. It was in January, sorry. It's one of them things where I don't think it's necessarily saying we're going to run with a small squad. I think it's saying we look for the best 18 individuals possible and supplement it with, young players as a development process. These young players are sold a dream. They're told that there's a clear pathway into first team football. So we have to fulfill that. And that's not me saying we need to run with a small squad because, you need depth, but you also need to add more quality. We have a small squad at the minute, but we also don't have much quality in that small squad. In terms of Premier League quality, we've outperformed ourselves massively so over the last, season. So to be where we are, it's more of a reality shock than, crashing in back into reality. But I don't think anyone at the club will be silly enough to think that we only need a very trim squad. I think the process will be that we look to add quality, but not unnecessarily because we are not a big hitter in the league. We don't have the money. We can't compete, and it's all about maintaining that pathway for youth development because that's the route they wanted to go down. That's why Marsh is here, coming from the Red Bull group, which they've done so well. But the Red Bull group, they've got Salzburg, who are top of the Austrian league. They've also got Liefering, who are the league below in Austria, who they can send youth players to. And then, the goal is to get to the Leipzig first team. And then from there, you see them float up all over Europe. It's a patience game, and it is a big risk, but I do feel like it's taken out of context.
Also, if you think about it, the Premier League, I was considering doing 5 subs. That only benefits the big teams. Because if you've got like us, Burnley, don't want to put Burnley into the equation, but we've only got small squads. So the big clubs can only benefit.
Suits Man City and Liverpool down to the ground, doesn't it?
The scummers. So
yeah, absolutely. But so a few people are just saying it was a scouting and recruitment webinar that he did the other day where the quotes have come from. But again, I think you're right, Ben, in what you're saying. It's okay carrying a small squad supplemented by youth, but the small squad needs to be of higher caliber players, if you like.
Of course it does.
So again, how often do you see the amount of injuries that we've had? it's not a regular thing. It doesn't happen to every squad every year. You know, it's just one of them things where go back to the whole luck thing. We kind of need luck.
Yeah, so Andrew S just saying it's on the Training Ground Guru YouTube channel if you want to take it in.
Well, thank you, Andrew, for my journey to work listening tomorrow.
Yeah, I think I might give that a watch actually at some point. Anyway, let's move on and get a little bit of this.
Shit out of the week.
The shithouse of the week segment, where we identify, as we just have done for about the last 10 minutes, people who annoy us over a period of time, much so that we feel like we need to award them the shithouse of the week mantle. My 2 nominations this week is myself for getting rid of my Wolves tickets. I want to put myself in there. It's quite self-deprecating and put myself in there. And then my second one is the England selection of Mings and Maguire. I honestly cannot see how them two warrant wearing an England shirt at the moment, to be honest. From what I've seen, I don't watch Villa all the time. I certainly don't watch the Scummers all the time. But I'm really struggling to see how they get a cap, either of them, to be honest. Is it because there's just nobody else? Or does Gareth Southgate actually believe that they're any good? I'm struggling.
I struggle to care. I think that's my problem.
Yeah, me too.
Do you know what I mean? It's like he's picked these players for so long, and yeah, they performed at a championship, but Jesus Christ, like look at this season, and I mean, Mings isn't even the best English centre half at Villa, in my opinion. Conster's a far better centre half, and then the season that Maguire's had's just been completely woeful, like to the point where it's actually been embarrassing to watch. So yeah, I mean, you look at Stones, he's probably the best centre half that we've got at the minute, but he's barely really, to my knowledge anyway, playing for City that much this season. So it's
did Ben White get selected?
I think White's been. I think White's in there. Yeah.
Jason Taylor
in there as well.
How's Cody in there? Is it for seeing games out or what? I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Jason Taylor wants to add someone to the list. The Wolves fan, I think it was Wolves Truth on Twitter, who just kept going on.
They are still tweeting now.
And it even took to like little childish digs saying that Bamford looks like Steve McDonald, and just going on and on and on about the fact that they got beat, saying that they should sue for loss of earnings because they're not going to make Europe. It was like the most extreme, extreme reaction to it.
They genuinely believe, as a fan base, that the Premier League are theorising against them to keep them out of the Big Six.
Right.
I mean, it's a very fair, point, but I think the whole of Wolverhampton deserves to be nominated, just because. Yeah,
I'll be honest, mate. I'm gonna drop short of that because my mate who's a Wolves fan is an ex-area champion middleweight boxer. So I'm gonna drop short of that because the next time I see him, if he ever happens to fall upon this, he will probably break my face. So I'm gonna say the whole of Wolverhampton's except Jez. I'm gonna say that. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah,
just to protect my face.
It's not that I've got all against Wolverhampton as such. But...
Track back.
But, Didn't you upset the All of America ones? What did you say about that? They can't make cups of tea, I think it were.
The whole of America.
No, they can't, can they really?
The whole of Canada as well.
No, Rags. It was Rags who upset Canada with his bad accent. Yeah.
But essentially, yeah, they are literally today still tweeting about the loss. So yeah, Wolverhampton.
Which is hilarious, to be fair. Any of you guys want to add any nominations? There's a few coming in saying Harry's in there with 3. Let's go, Harry. Give us number 1. Who's your number 1?
Number 1 is Mike Dean.
Right.
Finally retiring.
Okay. Mike Dean. Number 2?
Number 2, I mentioned it to you earlier, but I can't remember it. And number 3 is Click.
Click? What's this Click? What for?
Because when he came off injured, when all the Wolves players was having like a bit of an argument in the technical area. Click went up to the coach of Wolves and started talking down to him,
Right.
even with his mass golf ball eye. And there was Jesse Marsh in the background just laughing.
So a positive shithouse then. We like to chuck one of them in every now and again. Dan,
What
have you
about-
got any added nominations? You can't put Max Verstappen in just for giggles.
Karen Horner, the man. Yes, never mind.
Is that an F1 thing? Is it? Sorry.
Yeah, it's the director of Red Bull.
Right.
No, I'm gonna go with Mings. I think he's just a proper shithouse. I just don't like him as a player. I just think I don't think he suits Villa either. I think don't know where I put him, to be honest, but he shouldn't be a footballer. I just don't like him.
Probably he's a thug.
Yeah,
he's a thug. Yeah. Anyway, Ben, who you add into the shithouse of the week list?
I was going to say a train line behind his house.
the East Coast main line. We'll add that in there as well. So
Putin.
So who do we think? Who is there? We get right in
Putin.
Putin, yeah. To be honest, he'd be on there forever, I think. So yeah, COVID's just managed to slip off shithouse of the week, but it appears to be making a bit of a resurgence at the minute, so it might find its way back on eventually. So lads, who are we going to give it to for this week's shithouse of the week?
You for giving your ticket away.
It's going to have to be in it. I don't think I've ever won it either. I feel like this is a real defining moment in my Talking Shut career that I've now shithouse of the week for giving me
Welcome
ticket
to
away.
the club. I think I won it for nominating my own mum once.
Yeah, you got it for nominating your mum. Ben got it for backing Bolton.
It's a long story. I would being a bit of a dick.
Oh.
I think the phrase has been petulant. I think.
Yeah.
I think the word,
Basically, I was just being a spoiled child.
All right.
To be honest, I think we've all won it at some point. I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll go with that then. I'll have it. Can we have a joint one? Me and Wolves. Shall we have Wolves as well? I feel like they shouldn't get away with it. Ben, apart from Jess. Yeah, not Jess. Ben, everybody but Jess. Ben Tillotson. That cat kicking twat from West Ham for practically getting away with it. I think it's bobbing Kurt Zuma. Didn't the RSPCA this week say they were going to charge him though?
Yeah, he has been charged, hasn't he?
I have enjoyed the section of fans who take blow up cats. And signs to games.
Yeah, I did also enjoy Chris Wood meowing at him as well.
Yeah,
I did enjoy that. That's a particular highlight. So yeah, we'll give them. Moving on then slightly, last couple of bits to wrap up with. A shout out, obviously, Josh Warrington, an opportunity for him to win a world title this coming weekend as he fights Kiko Martinez at the Leeds Arena. So good luck to Josh. One of them people who we've tried to get on the show a few times and have had it in sort of verbal agreement, and then it's never really happened. But yeah, good luck to him. I'm going to the fight. I'm looking forward to it. Never really been to a big card before, so I'm very much excited about that. But I won't be drinking. I should have added that to the shithouse of the week, actually. £7.50 for a pint of Peroni. Ridiculous.
Flat Peroni.
Flat Peroni. In fact, sorry, Biamoretti. Flat Biamoretti it was. And then shout out as well. Me being stupid again, agreed to do the square ball walk from North Wales back to Leeds in May, the 22nd to the 26th of May. Myself and a load of other lunatics meeting in North Wales, close to Gary Speed's childhood home, and we're going to walk back to Elland Road to raise money for both the Samaritans and Andy's Man Club. Obviously, two charities that I think have been heavily relied upon during the COVID pandemic and in recent times. So if you would like to sponsor us, we realize times are hard. You know, if you feel like you need to sell a car so you don't have to fuel it to sponsor us, we would understand. But yeah, if you check it out, it's on my my Twitter at DinglebertDev, but it's also obviously all over the Square Balls one as well. It'll be a good track, 100 Leeds fans walking back from Wales. And I think part of the route brings us down the canal in Manchester, then cuts across in front of Old Trafford. So there'll be a good opportunity there for lots of childish photos of me rodding Old Trafford as we walk past. So yeah, anything else for any other business from you guys before we move on? No? I'd just like then to say a big, massive thank you to Harry and Dan for stepping in as co-hosts this evening, as we're missing Raggy and Ben. Shout out to them too. Hope you enjoy your respective holidays, and we'll catch you back soon. Young Ben, me and you back next week. We'll try and draft some more interim people in to try and fill the void left by them guys. And that kind of brings us to an end of episode 186. A huge thanks to everybody who has engaged, commented, got involved with the show. And if you are listening to this back on a podcast, please share, subscribe, leave us a review. We did actually get a new review, Ben. Would you like me to read out the review live on the air? I'm going to
grace my ears with the review.
I'm going to grace your ears with the review in 1
Feed
second.
my ego.
This is a good one as well. So the 11th of March, Grateful UK says, tech don't always work, but these lads are funny and they've got their priorities right. Always worth a listen. I like it.
Short and sweet.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you to Grateful UK who left us that. We've had some quite funny ones actually in there as well. We did have one that called me a cunt, so that's fine. Fine, and also very accurate. So anyway, we'll bring it to an end. Big thanks to everybody who has tuned in, and we'll see you next week for more of the same. Big thanks, Ari and Dan. Really enjoyed it. Hope you
nice one, guys.
too.
See you later, guys.
I'll see you there.
Did it?